Stugatz here. We've all heard of Casper, the sleep company with outrageously comfortable products at not so outrageous prices. From award-winning mattresses to pillows, sheets, and duvets, Casper transforms the way we sleep one snooze at a time. And with their Labor Day sale, you can experience the Casper comfort with a brand new mattress now featuring zone support. The original mattress provides the support and cooling you need with the comfort you love. 4 layers of premium foam are designed to provide pressure relief for all-night comfort. Now with zone support, designed to be softer under the shoulders, firmer under the hips to help align your spine. From bedding, bed frames, and even a dog bed, Casper has everything you need to build the bed of your dreams. And as always, free shipping and free returns. Get 15% off your order when you purchase an original, Nova, or Wave mattress, and enjoy 10% off everything else now through September 7th. Use code COMFORT15, that's COMFORT15. Offer expires September 7th, 2020 at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Time. Excludes the Element mattress bundles and sale items. Limit one offer per customer and order. Please see Casper.com/terms for additional terms and conditions.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugatz Podcast.
By the way, I need to issue an apology. I really should have the reckless speculation sound because I completely mixed up Hannah Ann Sluss with Victoria Fuller. It happens all the time. Victoria Fuller was the Bachelor contestant who was in the modeling photo shoot for the White Lives Matter shirt, which is even worse than an All Lives Matter shirt somehow. And she had to apologize. And then, Cosmo wouldn't post the digitally shared winning photo of her and Pete on their date in their bathing suits. It's a thing. The point is, Victoria Fuller is the one who did it. Hannah Ann Sluss, I have no idea if you're a controversial person, but congratulations on bagging a couple quarterbacks, and I hope it's not too awkward for you.
Okay, that you know what? I appreciate you taking the higher ground on that. All right, it's the Dan Le Batard Show brought to you by the Home Depot with everything you need to do projects smarter, faster, and easier. Welcome to today's Home Depot. How doers get more done. She's Sarah Spain. I'm Jason Fitz. Let's head over to the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line where we are joined only days away from the beginning of the NFL season by our friend Mike Tannebaum. Mike, thanks so much for the time. There was a big controversial story last night, went out on ESPN.com. As we now know, according to reports, the Saints were trying to do some little trickery in acquiring Jadeveon Clowney, where they were trying to essentially get another team to pay the bonus and all of a sudden make a trade, and it was like buying a draft pick. So, Mike, when you read that story, what was your reaction to what the Saints are trying to pull off?
Yeah, great to be with you guys. They were trying to get creative. They were basically seeing if somebody could absorb part of Jadeveon Clowney's salary, which would be paid in the form of a signing bonus. That signing bonus would be absorbed by the first team, and then 24 hours later he'd be traded to another team. And the league fundamentally is opposed to anybody trading picks for cash, and that's certainly what this would have been. And apparently, as been reported, it got nixed by the league office. I thought it was creative, but again, under the CBA, that's certainly what the rules are, and we all know what the league wants is for everybody to play by the same rules.
But this
Mike, I'm curious.
Yeah, go ahead,
sir. What's the difference between this and what happened with Brock Osweiler, which everybody thought was, oh, wow, that's a surprising and creative way to get something like that done? Was this just that now the NFL was looking out for something like that and doesn't want it to continue?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think maybe there was more picks or players involved instead of just a one pick for one player. But I was thinking the same thing, to be candid. Is this really materially different than that? So and we don't know, candidly, how far down the road it is. I know just from my experience with teams, like we did look into those sort of things. It's hard to get deals done, too, by the way, because you're trying to get two separate agreements, one done with the agent and one done with the other team. So there's a few moving parts here. And again, reportedly, it was nixed by the league, but there is a lot of work to be done. But I think it's a really fair point because it sounds very, very close to Osweiler's deal.
We're talking to Mike Tannebaum, ESPN NFL front office insider on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. It's the Dan Le Batard Show, but Sarah Spain, Jason Fitz in for the guys. So all eyes are on the quarterback position. Let's start with Miami, where they've announced that Fitzpatrick will be the starter. If you were down in Miami, how much rope would you give Tua before you actually got him in the game?
I would go with Fitz for a long time until they really felt that Tua could protect himself and knew 15 to 20 plays where he could run the offense He knows where protections are, where, again, you want Tua to be the guy for the next 10 years. So I would make sure that Fitzy's the guy until further notice. Now, we were just on Get Up, and Green made a really good point, which was when you're the number 2 quarterback, circumstances really dictate when he's going to play. So, if there was an early injury, let's say, I would make sure that there's a 15-play package that Tua knew inside and out because, again, no offseason program, no scrimmages, no practice, no preseason games. And because of that, you just want to make sure that Tua can protect himself when he goes in.
It's the Levitard Show with Stu Gott, Sarah Spain, Jason Fitz filling in, talking to Mike Tannenbaum here. Mitch Trubisky gets the nod for the Bears. And I'll tell you, a couple months ago, I thought to myself when people asked me, who do you want? I said, it'd be great if Mitch took enough steps forward that they felt confident in him. It'd be weird to give up what they did and take on the contract of Foles. But, whatever is going to put them in the best position. And we saw some signs of life from him a couple years ago when he put together enough offensively to help that great defense lead them to success. Over the last couple months, I'd sort of convinced myself that there was no chance he was winning it, that Foles was brought in for a reason and they didn't pick up the option on Trubisky. How do we end up in a place where the better option for the Bears is this guy? Is this just about continuity?
Yes, Sarah, I'm with you. It's not the better decision, not even close. Nick Foles is the better player, better quarterback. Mitch Trubisky is about 30th in the league in average per pass attempt. And if I know that, I promise you that opposing teams, defensive coordinators know that as well. And I've been very fortunate to be around great defensive minds, Coach Parcells, Coach Belichick, Rex Ryan, Eric Mangini. And they will tell you that if and when the field is compressed, it's a lot easier to play defense. So this really makes no sense to me. If we were drafting quarterbacks in the NFC North, guys, clearly he would be the fourth. You have a Hall of Famer in Aaron Rodgers and 2 really good quarterbacks in Matt Stafford and Kirk Cousins. And I just think Chicago's at a competitive disadvantage.
And you don't think there's something that could have happened over the course of this training camp where the light turns on for him, where Nagy realizes he can't throw the kitchen sink at him and he takes steps forward?
Sarah, I think fundamentally it's hard to do that like we were just talking about with Tua, like with no preseason games, no scrimmages. I just don't know how you can simulate and see that he's gotten discernibly better by having the ability to get the ball down the field under a pass rush with consistent accuracy. And again, I'm not saying that Nick Foles is an elite quarterback, but he's a winning NFL quarterback. He's played really well in big games. He has a better arm, a more consistent arm. He's a good enough athlete. And with that defense, to me, by far, he gives them the best chance to win.
We're talking to Mike Tannebaum on, it's not Spain and Fitz, it's the Dan Le Batard Show, but she's Sarah Spain, I'm Jason Fitz. Force, I have it already. So, Mike, the game's starting in just a couple of days, but one thing that we haven't talked a lot about is officiating. We've had some officials opt out. I'm a little curious what you expect from officials that also haven't had any preseason or time to get ready to get themselves in, quote, game shape. What do you expect from officiating?
Jason, that's a really interesting question. We're going to see some things Thursday night that we just are going to have to – there'll be growing pains. We're going to see in the kicking game, we're going to see in tackling, and we're going to see in officiating. Football is a game of repetition. Talk about game speed, and it's just going to take a while. So I think we're going to see some calls that are missed. And I think importantly, this whole controversial pass interference rule replay, now it's back to on the field, which I think we all believe that's where it should be. So I think it's a good point. I think that's going to be a little bit of a work in progress as well.
Mike, we got to let you go, so I don't want to get too into the weeds here, but I'm curious what you make of the practice squads this year and how things will be different for teams in terms of carrying players in case of illness and otherwise.
Yeah, it's interesting. You look around the league, guys like Josh McCown make it, who is a great emergency quarterback that made a ton of sense to me. And then on the other hand, you see guys like Josh Rosen, who hopefully he could get to a situation where he can coach and develop, and for the next 20 years, he'll look back and say, wow, that was the best decision I made, and I had a long and productive career in the NFL. So I think we're going to see a bunch of those sort of like unusual situations, like New England, for example, has 2 kickers on the practice squad today. Obviously, that'll change between now and opening day. So very unusual year, but I think we're seeing teams take sort of different approaches about short-term as well as long-term, and I think we'll see a whole bunch of veterans get activated off the practice squad throughout the year.
Mike, we always appreciate your expertise. Stay safe, my friend. Thanks so much for hanging out with us this morning.
All right, thanks so much for having me, guys.
Napa know-how.
At Napa, you can get a 5-quart jug of Mobil 1 full synthetic motor oil for $26.99. An incredible oil for an unbeatable price from the best car people around. Making this deal the best of the best of the best of the best of the best deals around. That's Mobil 1, only $26.99. Quality parts, helpful people. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
General states pricing. Sales prices not include applicable state, local taxes, or recycling fees. Offer ends 9/30/20.
It's actually the Spain and Fitz takeover is what it is. It's the Dan Lebitard show with Stu Gatz.
You did such a good job reading in the last segment. Yeah. I knew it was going to come back and bite you.
You get cocky. That's what happened. She's Sarah Spain. I'm Jason Fitz. She's still smart. I still can't. I can't read. We all know this. This is what's happened. It doesn't get any better. And now, in a segment
now
where
you're leaking confidence.
You know, it's leaving me. It's like America's Next Top Model, like after the makeover, when you know the hair's changed and she no longer believes in herself. That's where I am now, Sarah.
Oh, my God. I forgot about ANTM when they did the hair thing, and they'd be like, you get a buzz cut, and then the girl would cry.
Mm-hmm. Oh, just epic meltdowns.
And Tyra would have to give her an inspiring tale about how she's going to stand out from the rest of the girls, and then they would cut her like the next episode right after they gave her a buzz cut. I gotta go back in the vault.
Like Oof. That's the thing that I've gone down this rabbit hole too many times at this point, and like right now I'm just sort of I find myself late at night binge watching season 5 currently.
Nice.
And yes, like it is amazing how right after the makeover somebody's sent home and they're sent home with like awful hair every time. That person should be very, very mad. It is the Dan Lebitard show with Stu Gatz. She's Sarah Spain. I'm Jason Fitz. We're presented by Progressive Insurance, and we were just talking to Mike Tannebaum. The NFL season's only a few days away, Sarah. Obviously, there's a lot of hope for a lot of fan bases, but this year particularly feels weird because none of us have seen anything from our team. So I'll ask you first. The big news is that Mitchell Trubisky is the starting quarterback of the Bears. We all know you're a Bears fan. How you feeling? Are you good? Your level of confidence through the roof, Mitch?
I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm rethinking everything I ever thought about life. I'm going down deep, dark holes where I try to spin everything I read and see and hear into some, indication of what's to come. Like you heard me talking to Tannenbaum. I'm like, is it possible, though, that maybe, like, over the last couple of months, he just got really good at football? Like, is there any chance that he just really earned this? It's bad. It's bad news. And then I heard Trubisky. I think we have the sound. He was doing his presser after the announcement, and he was describing the way his teammates reacted to the news of him getting the call to be the starter. And I just take a listen, then I'll break it down.
Teammates come up to you and they congratulate you, but it's business as usual. I mean, a couple of guys give me a hard time, just joking around. But I think the guys are excited, but we're more excited to get back to business for playing football this week at Detroit, and we're excited the season's finally here, and I just love our mindset in the building, a business-like approach, but we're having fun with it. You see guys flying around. Everyone seems to be locked in and really focused on the task at hand. So as a leader, you love to see that, and we're just trying to get more and more of that.
Okay, first of all, there's like 1,000 cliches in there. But secondly, I'm thinking to myself that the person asking the question was hoping for some nice anecdotes and tales of like teammates, all right, man, you got this. We're confident in you. This is great. We're so happy about the decision, like through the roof about where we're going to go this year. And instead he's like, mostly business as usual, which really has me concerned that everybody in the building is also like, oh no, right? I want some sort of proof that everyone's like, he earned this, and not just there was no offseason and no preseason, so we have no idea whether Nick Foles is caught up, so we're just going to go with the guy we already had, even though the whole reason that we didn't get his option signed and we signed another quarterback is because he wasn't good enough.
Look, the quarterback situation is messy in Chicago, and I want to laugh at it in general, but I can't because my team seems to always have quarterback issues. But you're not wrong on the over-translation. I think there's an easy one here, too. I love this. Matt Nagy, the Bears head coach, who, again, he has a past with Foles. So that's why I expected Foles to win the job. I mean, they've worked together. Foles knows the language. I thought Foles would just come in and win the job. He didn't. And so Nagy now obviously has to answer questions about Trubisky's chances. And I think his wording was particularly interesting in this answer.
You have an opportunity here to have a really, really cool story. Is it going to happen? I don't know. But you have somebody that's been through a lot, had some highs and has had a lot of lows. And he's worked his tail off to now win this job and have an opportunity to prove a lot of people right.
Sarah, all I keep thinking about is if you handed me something to read on radio and you're like, hey, this hasn't gone well for you in the past. You've got an opportunity now. Will it work? Who knows? I mean, not exactly a confidence builder right there.
Yeah, I don't think there are very many jobs where it imbues confidence to be told, listen, you haven't had a lot of success. Things have not gone well for you. I'm going to give you another shot. Will it work? I don't know. And I'm not willing to even say it will, even if that would give you more confidence and would make things easier for you, because I don't want to be on tape proclaiming something that I'm pretty confident is not going to happen. So I'm just going to keep it real even keeled with, what a cool story this would be if this guy ends up being successful. Wouldn't that be wild? That's exactly how I want to start a season.
Just the thought of me being at a press conference and somebody's like, are you going to be able to read this? And it's like, maybe. It's going to be fun finding out. Like, that feels like what Nagy was like, going to be a fun ride figuring this out one way or the other. By the way, it's always a fun ride to check out ESPN Audio at home. Just tell Alexa to play news from ESPN. ESPN Audio at home, brought to you by Mercedes-Benz Van. Drive a Mercedes-Benz Van. Find out how far an extra mile really goes, from customization and service to financial assistance. Mercedes-Benz Vans are ready for anything. Sarah, I'm ready for the season, but I got to tell you, like, this is a confessional moment for me. I always remember 2006. 2006 was the year that the Raiders went undefeated in the preseason, right? And Art Shell had come back as their head coach. And suddenly, I had a swagger. I went into week one with a swagger because my team was going to be better than anybody thought. They lost that game week one, 27-0. And I think I gave up on the entire season by halftime. So where is your line in the sand for Trubisky where you're just going to, like, decide that this season's going to be too painful?
First of all, I just want to say that, like, Fitz, you know that I love you and I love working with you and I have the utmost confidence in you. But I think you just admitted to believing that the preseason means anything. And that's a problem. I'm a little bit worried about your football acumen if you considered a winning record in the preseason as an indicator of future success.
The only people that love preseason in Madden are the people whose teams actually stink, because the only way you watch your team win is preseason in Madden.
Yeah, unfortunately for the Lions, they can't even enjoy it anymore because they, too, had the undefeated preseason that then led to the first ever winless season. So they understand that no weight can be placed in the preseason. I'll say this much. I am usually pretty optimistic to a fault because it's more enjoyable for me to have a little bit of hope and be disappointed than to have no hope at all. And I will say that, 2 years ago when the Bears actually had a great run and got parkied, I actually had not that big expectations because I was like, well, we're going with this Mitch Trubisky guy who we saw a bit of with the season before, but I don't have high expectations. I don't know what the defense is going to look like. Matt Nagy, blah, blah, blah. And instead, I was pleasantly surprised by a really great run. So then I went into last year like, we got this. We're building off last year. And it was brutal. So somewhere in the middle is where I need to sit. I can't get too excited because it's too disappointing. And it's no fun to have a season where you just know from the start that you're going to suck.
Look, I always say this. My favorite team is the relationship with my favorite team is a little like a bad, relationship in life. Like when the season ends, you have a really good understanding. Like when your relationship ends, you have a really good understanding of what went wrong and why it's bad. Out. And then all of a sudden, a little while later, you got free agency, and suddenly you're like, you know what I really miss? I miss the way she did this. And then all of a sudden, you get to the draft, and you're like, we had some good times. And then you get to OTAs and preseason, and you're like, she's changed. And then the season starts, and all of a sudden, you get kicked in the no-nos again, and you realize that everything's going to be the same. That's my cycle every year of fandom. So this year is going to be different. We'll see. It'll be fun to see.
I have
how
the same
it plays
problem,
out
I remember how good it felt for the Doinks, and so quickly forget the double Doinks.
Oh, well, you can never forget the double doinks. All right, it's the Dan Le Batard Show with two guys. She's Sarah Spain. I'm Jason Fitz. Coming up, a lot of talk coming out of the college football world, not just from some of our best experts, some of the biggest players in the country. The question is, do you want to hear it? You're not going to be able to choose one way or the other. We'll tell you about it next. It's the Dan Le Batard Show with Stu Gatz on ESPN Radio. Well, as amazing as the snacks and sweets are, because let me tell you, Christine does bake better than anybody. As amazing as those are, Christine, you're even better than all of that combined. So we really appreciate you hanging out with us and appreciate everything you do for ESPN. So
it's your apartment speaking, and I need some favors. When you're singing in the shower, just try going up a key. You're trying to be an alto when really you're a soprano. Oh, and if you could bundle your renters and car insurance with Geico, it's easy to do online and we could save money. And then when you read your murder mysteries at night, could you read out loud, but skip the murder parts because I get scared.
Geico. For bundling made easy, go to geico.com today.
Look at that. A heartfelt moment, Sarah. I am
20
capable
years.
of it. Look, I can't imagine. You do get a free, I always go back to free. You get a little statue when you hit 20 years, right? Like it's a little mouse statue.
Nice. That's certainly worth all the toil.
I mean, I'm hanging in till I get that mouse stat. I mean, heck or high water, I am going to get that mouse statue. It's the Dan Le Batard Show with Stu Gatz. It's Sarah Spade, Jason Fitz filling in. And obviously, college football right around this weekend is when everybody's got their eyes on it. I know games have started, but this weekend will be the big beginning for much of the college football community. By the way, shameless plug, you can check out Countdown to Game Day digitally on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, all of the places you consume ESPN digitally before game day on Saturday morning. I'll be hosting that, so hang out with us there. But we got a statement over the weekend from college football players, including Trevor Lawrence, with the hashtag Our Voice Matters. And the statement wasn't just a statement about using their voice, Sarah. It was a statement with what they call a 5-point plan of actionable steps to create real change, including ensuring all teammates are registered to vote and have November 3rd free from athletic obligations so they can vote, discussing with presidents and administrations how to further raise awareness about racial injustice and create initiatives. They also want to create community outreach initiatives via clothing, food, school supply, and book drives. They want to normalize having routine conversations about change, policing, legal rights, addressing racial injustice, etc., between college football teams and police departments. And on game days, they want to use their platform to raise awareness via wearing shirts, utilizing statements on helmets and jerseys, and playing tribute videos to recognize victims of racial injustice and share their stories.
Really quick. Do you always say via or only when you're reading? When you're not reading, do you say via?
I always say via.
All right,
either pronunciation is accepted on this one. I am confident. While I was not
First
confident
of all, you're not in charge of explaining to people which pronunciations are allowed because you just invented words earlier in the show. But I do agree with you that via and via are both commonly accepted.
Are you a via person?
I'm a via person.
I think our relationship just hit its first.
But sometimes when I read, I say via.
Really?
Yeah. Anyway, carry on.
Okay, so those are their actionable items. And I think the biggest takeaway for me is a simple one, Sarah, and that's for anybody that thinks that college football is just going to return and all of a sudden people are going to be able to watch these games and not hear from the athletes. That's just not real anymore. I mean, that cat's out of the bag and it's not coming back in. And my hope is that people will receive this message with as much passion as they receive the message from players in the Big Ten saying they want to play. Because it's funny to me that the minute players spoke out about what they wanted, but what they wanted was playing, everybody was on board. Well, if what they want are actionable items to create change by using their platform, I hope college football fans embrace that with the same vigor that they embraced just the want to play games.
That's nice, and it's cute that you want that and hope for that, knowing fully well it's not going to happen. I mean, this is everything we've seen around the conversations about college football has revealed hypocrisy for everybody, right? If people are saying the things that you agree with and they're taking a stand for social justice issues that you care about, then it's listen to the kids. But then if the kids say, we want to play, we don't care, these kids are too young to know that their future health is at risk here. Let's let some administrators and physicians and experts take over. On the opposite side, it's these kids are telling us that they want to play and they should be listened to and their voices are important, but they shouldn't be listened to when it comes to social issues because they're just kids and they don't know what they're doing, right? I mean, it's going to happen for everybody. If you know they're not espousing the beliefs that you have, you're going to find a way to criticize and say that their voices aren't worthy. But your point is a valid one, which is people who don't want to hear from these guys, people who don't want these players to speak up for these issues, they're not going to have a choice. Like you said, it's a Pandora's box. We've already opened up the fact that these athletes and these leagues at the professional and amateur level are unwilling to be quiet about issues that affect them and that are probably heightened by the intimate nature of a locker room where you've got a whole bunch of people with different backgrounds and colors and ethnicities and religions and everything else coming together for a common goal, much more so than maybe the average American living wherever they are in a homogenized area and community. And so if they feel like they want to take up the mantle for something like this at a younger age than ever before, it's just a reflection of society where at a younger and younger ages, in part because of social media, in part because of the elevation of voices without the traditional gatekeepers hiring them to do a column or write for somewhere or be a talking head on television, you're able to hear many more opinions and in lived experiences expressed. And that's affording younger people the earlier decision of, I don't need to believe and think the way that everyone in my community does or my family or whatever. And I think it's good for us. It's for the younger generation to get involved and to care because most of the time they're espousing views that are way ahead of where our generation was at the time. And I think you're right, though. A lot of sports fans are going to be sorely disappointed on game day when they want to, quote unquote, escape.
Yeah, ESPN Radio presented by Progressive Insurance. At Progressive, they're making things even easier. They'll help you bundle your home and car insurance together so you can save on both. Learn more at Progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE. And to get too deep in the weeds for 1 second, Sarah, I do think that this is going to have a long-term effect on the college football recruiting community because what we're seeing from athletes, to your point, is even at a younger age, they understand their platform. So athletes coming out of high school are not just going to be looking at where they can go to the NFL because there's a lot of schools that can do that. They're also going to be looking at which coaching staffs and which schools can let them represent their set of beliefs and however they want to use their platform. So I think this is a huge turning point for the college football community, not just for today, but also for the future. Football is back this week, finally, and DraftKings, the leader in one-day fantasy sports, has millions of reasons why you should be excited. To kick off the football season, DraftKings giving a new user a free shot at $1 million with the top prize, with a total of $3 million up for grabs this Thursday with the football contest. Getting in on Thursday night's single-game showdown is easy. All you got to do is download DraftKings and use the promo code DAN, D-A-N. Plus, new users who sign up today on DraftKings using code DAN will receive a free shot at one of the $1 million top prizes with their first deposit. Nothing adds to the sweat of watching the game like having a shot at $1 million payday. Download the DraftKings app now and use code DAN. For a limited time, new users can get a free shot at $1 million with the top prize and $3 million in total prizes. Don't miss this extra special Week 1 bonus. The code is DAN, D-A-N, to get a free shot at the $1 million top prize with your first deposit. That's code DAN, D-A-N, only at DraftKings. Make it rain. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for more details. She's Sarah Spain.
Hey, it's your homie. Sorry, it's your home. I know you don't like it when I call myself your homie. So I have some favors to ask you. Could you get rid of a few chairs in the living room? My floorboards are tired. Another easy thing, we could save money if you bundled your home and car insurance with Geico. One more thing. I know you love lavender-scented candles, but could we try Tahitian vanilla? I think it would fit my vibe better.
Geico. For bundling made easy, go to geico.com today.
The great thing about facts, they're proven. Like the fact that crude oil contains impurities. Or that base oil made from natural gas is 99.5% free of impurities. And the fact that Pennzoil is the first synthetic motor oil made from natural gas, not crude oil. It gives you unbeatable engine protection. The proof is in the Pennzoil. Based on Sequence 4A wear test using SAE 5W30. Ask for it at your local automotive retailer.
I'm Jason Fitz. When we come back, some of the worst stories from Labor Day. What's the worst day that somebody's had at work? We'll tell you what you guys have been telling us next. The Dan Le Batard Show with Stu Gatz. It's the Labor Day edition of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stu Gatz, which means you're getting a little bit different treatment this morning. Spain and Fitz. Sarah Spain, Jason Fitz. We're usually on from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio. So if you're having fun, feel free to hang out with us there. If you're not, then it definitely wasn't us and you're listening to a different show.
And either way, feel free to subscribe to the Spain and Fitz podcast.
Yeah, Sarah mentioned earlier we do some exclusive content on the podcast. You can only get there. So get out there, rate, review, subscribe, do all that good stuff. It is Labor Day, so in honor of the weekend that just happened, and if you guys weren't paying attention over the course of the weekend, one of the bigger stories is that Djokovic was disqualified from his match over the weekend because he was frustrated at a moment and hit a ball, hit it away from the court, but he hit it towards sort of the back wall, and as he hit it, it went straight off the neck of one of the lineswomen that was working the match. So obviously that is an immediate disqualification, and rightfully so. But it led to sort of a little bit of a thread that we saw throughout the course of the weekend. Because that's a bad day at work. When you're undefeated for the year and you've come out and you put yourself in this tournament and then you get yourself ejected because you pitched a little fit, that's a bad day at work. Also a bad day at work is the Nats GM, Mike Rizzo, who was ejected from the suite for yelling at umpires. Now, I love that, by the way. Like, that's some real guts right there. Like, the first time I was ever in Camden Yards in Baltimore, I started yelling, and the guy behind me told me to sit down and called me an idiot. So, I get it. Like, if you can get your voice to bellow in a stadium, but to get kicked out of the suite, Sarah, takes a little bit of work, and that's a bad day, right? Like,
well, you also failed to mention that the person who kicked him out was, of course, Cowboy Joe West, who somehow managed to make the game about him even when there are no fans. When someone is yelling at you from the suite hundreds of yards away and you still have such a thin skin that you can't just ignore it. Come on, man. Cowboy Joe. Get it together.
Yeah,
and then
I'm
he
not sure
said,
who
if
had
it was
the worst
Donald
day
Trump,
there, by the way.
I'd eject him too, but I'd still vote for him. Unnecessary information.
Yeah.
Joe West, keep it to yourself. And also, we're really ejecting GMs that are all the way up in the suite. Oh, God.
It's a bad day for Rizzo, but also a bad day for Joe West. I mean, that's sort of a double bad day. And you heard a great story from our very own Dan Orlovsky about a bad day one of his coaches had.
Yeah, so he was on a podcast talking about just the dysfunction of playing for the Lions. And of course, Orlovsky gets killed more than most for his lowest moment. But he also had to play on a franchise that has just one of the most embarrassing team histories of all time. And he talked about his 3 seasons. And this was on Chris Long's podcast, by the way, Greenlight. And he talked about how one of his offensive coordinators fell asleep during a game. Now, keep in mind, this is when games had fans. So you're in a giant, loud stadium. Your job is ostensibly to make sure that your quarterback and everybody else in your offense is functioning well. And he fell asleep in the game. It was either Mike Martz, Jim Coletto, or Greg Olson and Ted Tallner. He didn't say who it was, so everyone's left guessing based on the years he was there. But, yeah, one of his offensive coaches fell asleep in the middle of a game. That's a bad day at work, too.
Yeah, I'd say that. And although Lions fans have been falling asleep during games for a long time. So, just a man of the people there. So, as a result, we've asked you guys. You can tweet us at Spain, at Sarah Spain, at Jason Fitz. You can also tweet at Spain and Fitz if you like. But you can tweet us and let us know your worst day at work. And we've gotten some tweet responses that are interesting. Jeffrey on Twitter, Sarah said, worst day, my boss threatened to shoot me. That's a pretty...
Not great. It's not great.
That feels like the day that you just turn around and walk out. Also, one that stood out here, someone said, worst day at work happened at the store I manage. I saw a customer shake his leg, and out of his pant leg came 2 feces. He just walked out. I felt bad for the clerk. I had to send clean it up. Did you feel bad because you didn't go clean it up? I'm
That's
just
very
saying,
true.
like,
That's very
in that
true.
moment, they could have gone and cleaned it up. I'm just
Speaking
saying.
of bathrooms, Dixon said, worked at a bar restaurant. The outside bar had a trailer remodeled into a bathroom, all 5 toilets clogged and full, middle of summer, no air conditioning, and for the cherry on top, multiple wasp nests inside. I went in armed with a plunger and a can of Febreze. Not a great day at work.
I don't know, like, what you do with that. There's just a spot in that where you're like, nope, not today, not today.
Yeah.
Mike said, first day as a cable tech, I ruined a pair of pants because I put my knees on a customer's carpet to drill a hole, and there was so much cat pee that it instantly soaked through. There was also a bloody pair of chicken legs tied together, dangling from the cable line.
Sure, of course.
So many questions on that, but like, there's a
Lots of
moment with the.
questions.
Like, as somebody that has had multiple cats in my life, cat pee smells from a mile away. How did you not smell
that's
the
brutal.
cat pee?
Well, so somebody wrote in as a cable tech and mostly just had photos of a couple that had goats in diapers and then a sink situation that was terrifying. And it occurred to me, I can't think of much worse than having to just walk into strangers' homes to fix things and they're just gross or like hoarders or like just dirty or like and imagine, like, I don't really think about that, like when people walk into my house, that they're going into all these other potentially terrible places.
Yeah, you are so right about that. I do like this. I can't tell the name. And NFL Will said, I was driving a forklift in a Glidden paint warehouse with 3 skids of 5-gallon paint, pails of paint, 24 pails per skid, and I hit the brakes. The whole thing fell over. Needless to say, I was shortly unemployed. That's a lot of paint to clean up.
That's a lot of paint.
You'd be happier just calling Dell. That's all you need to do with your life. Dell just announced their Labor Day sales. Save up to 50% on powerful business computers with Intel Core processors that'll keep you ahead of the competition. Call 877-ASK-DELL. Keep tweeting us your worst stories. We'll keep reading them. Plus, we're going to get back to the bubble next on Dan Le Batard Show with Stu Gatz. Next on Dan Le Batard Show with Stu Gatz.